can't believe it runs. Okay, it's a terrible smoke show in here. I'll just move the camera a bit so you can see. So I'm just gonna move this camera out of the way, get in it, and try and get out of here to clear some of the smoke. Alright, it's a while later, and a little bit of a sad end, a little bit of a disappointment. I've angled it now close to the maximum that I can, but I have plenty of room here. So I'm going to try and lower it a little bit. It should actually go further into the engine bay as I lower it. Okay, we're starting to at least touch down on something. Still need to go further back. We're actually pretty much in place. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and it's been a while with this car, but we're finally working on it again, and we're gonna get it done this time. Even though it keeps, every single time I do something, I have to undo something else or fix something. But this time, let's get it right. Or probably not in this video, but next couple of videos, let's get this thing running. So it's a friend of mine's car, and it arrived with a no start condition. We bought it that way because it has a very solid body and a nice interior. It's rust free, which is quite rare for these where I live. However, it came with a bad engine, but wheels are good. Everything else is nice. Brakes were pretty new on it, so lots of good things. And I got it running lots of years ago, or 2 years ago or something. But we realized it was really badly using coolant, so either head gasket failures or something else, and it just would not do anything except idle. And if you put in gear, it died right away. It had really no compression. If you put a bunch of oil down the cylinders, you could build up some compression and you can get it to start, but really not a good thing. Found a replacement engine, not strictly for an S-Type, but the correct engine, but from an XJ8. So had to, change over the sump, the front cover, intake and all of that. That is sitting in the car with the transmission and everything, the original transmission from the car. However, besides just the electrics, nothing else is hooked up. No radiator. Transmission is not hooked up to the drive shafts or gear linkage and all of that. Exhaust is not on, so that's all the things we have to do while it's up on jack stands. But let's have a look underneath, because I was starting some of the work, and well, I have to undo some work, which is never fun. But this car, it just keeps on giving. Let's take a trip underneath. Okay, so over here is really the major issue. Let me set up my light. If you're hearing a bunch of background noise, that's just the heater that's on, because it's very cold outside. It's actually snowing. So I kept this thing disconnected the whole time just so I could move the car around, the drive shaft. So what the problem is, I was going to connect it up yesterday. There is a rubber coupling. I removed that. And even with that removed, do you see that problem? You cannot get this in place with the transmission in place. You see, it moves freely the other way, but there's not enough. And I realized that last night, and I gave up. And I thought, you know what? I'll film this for you guys because this is just ridiculous. Why would you make something like this? So I've had this just sitting in place on this transmission mount. There's supposed to be a rubber bit here, and I was going to put that on afterwards. But now we'll have to get a jack on the transmission, release this, hope that I can lean the whole thing down. Luckily, there's a radiator in it, because otherwise we would not be able to lean the engine. Hopefully, we can lean this whole thing down enough to get this on there. If not, I am actually willing to cut that with an ankle grinder to not have to take the engine out again, because everything else is bolted up, engine mounts and everything, and I'm not doing that again. No way. So let me get this out of the way. It will be too tight to film, and then hopefully this all slips back together. And that's in place. So I tilted it down really far, and I got it to slip together, so it is moving there, and I got this in between. So I'm going to bolt all this up. I'm going to use some Loctite, because I think they use blue Loctite on everything at the factory, so I'll do the same, put it together. I also put the shift cable in the right place and connected that back up over there. So that's all done. But I think before I connect this up, I'm actually just going to put the mount back so it's a little safer to be under here. And I'll put the rubber mount so the transmission is in the exact right place it needs to be. And it's really easy because this car's been under sealed, which is why it's survived from the rust. So there's good markings everywhere where everything should go. So quite simple. I'll do that, put this back up, and then we'll move on to the next challenge. The whole mount is in place now. Also the center section that is rubber mounted. So transmission is in the exact correct spot. Everything's connected up. I'm gonna wait to hook this up just because I need to get some. I thought I had Loctite at home and I didn't. So I'm gonna get a new bottle of Loctite and do that. Next thing we're gonna move on to is the exhaust. I have the manifolds on the bench. They're cleaned off. I have new gaskets. We're gonna get those into place. Once again, not really going to film that because it's just extremely tight. But if you can see up there, the exhaust ports, that's where it goes on both sides. And I need a bunch of extensions and swivels and things to get that into place. It's quite dark, but I just want to show you. I started to get this manifold in place. There is the gasket. I got two of the bolts just finger tight in place. And I've cleaned up both of the surfaces again. I cleaned all the threads when I had this thing on out of the car, but it's supposed to sit, you know, something like that. So time to get some extensions out. These are 10 millimeters, and I'm going to do them all up. It's going to take quite a while, and then I'll do the exact same thing on the other side. So a while later, and the exhaust is in on both sides. I need to hook up the cats, but the manifolds are in place. And everything is tightened down. Then the other side as well. Let me just move over to show you guys. There we go. That's all done as well. So the cats need to be put in place, and I have to drill the manifolds out. So I'm going to use different sort of bolts. So I'm going to see if I have something laying around, or I need to buy something when I do a parts run. Because I will need to do a parts run before firing this thing up. We need some Loctite for certain things. I need another couple small things. Underneath, I have some wiring left to do. There's an earth strap here and the main positive to the starter. I have some O2 sensors left to hook up. I'm not going to do that until the exhaust is completely in place. I have the engine mounts are just sitting at the moment just because I want everything to be able to move around as much as possible. So that needs to be put in place under here, and I have the power steering over here to connect up as well. But at the moment it's very cold here on the ground underneath the car, so I'd rather be on top where it's at least a little bit warmer in the workshop. That is my source of heat here. It's set to 17, but I can't really get it to 17 in here because my garage door is doesn't have any insulation. I need to do something about that. I think I'm gonna get some sort of thick blanket or something to hang in front of it, see if that will help. Because right now it's about -4 degrees Celsius out, and I can get about 13 degrees in here. So it's not terrible, but on the ground, it's not that warm. Up here, you can see the manifolds now. So that's all good. A lot of work has been done up here, but the next thing is I'm gonna do the multi-belt here. I'm going to reuse the old one for now. We're just waiting to see if this fires up, and I can replace that later quite easily. And then the sort of big thing going in here is the radiator with a lot of different things, because it's not just a radiator, it's a lot of things in one. Let me see if I can show you guys. Yeah, as you see, so the other one is the air conditioning part, and then we have a cooler here, which I think is a power steering cooler. Yeah, that's the power steering reservoir. We have the transmission cooler going in there, so I need to get some new hoses because I had to cut that to get it out. And then this is the main coolant radiator. So all of that needs to go in, and a lot of hoses need to be connected. Back up, let me get my light. So I'm going to do a bit of that work off camera just because that is quite a bit but we're going to do that for the next video because we're not going to give up. I'm going to continue working on this until it runs. Anyways, that is it for this video. I need to go inside and warm up, but I think we've done some great progress, and just really, this car is it's a bit of my nemesis, but now decided I'm not going to do anything until I finish this. So the next video you'll see on this car hopefully is when we fire it up, and it should be the next video on the channel. I'm just going to continue working on this thing as much as I can. Getting the radiator in, fixing a bunch of hoses, replacing hoses, and getting up and running. So I'm going to do some things off camera, and then the next time you see me, we'll do a couple of last sort of minute preparations. We'll try and build oil pressure and some other things on this car, and then we'll try and fire it up. But as you see with a lot of things, it's been 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But I think we're past that. I think we're just doing steps forward at the moment. Just that there's a lot to connect back up. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.